Anyway, you were going to say.
No, I was going to say there are two sort of iterations of the neocon mind. There's the sort of hard neocon, which is Jeane Kirkpatrick, authoritarians versus totalitarians, the sense of like, you know, this is about American interests and keeping the worst people at bay. And then there's the Wolfowitz wing of which is more about democracy promotion and human rights. And I think what you saw in Trump's speech was a reversion to the kind of original, more hard-headed, I think, self-interested neocon position.
Oh yeah, more of a realistic. I mean, Noah, you had, I mean, the Paul Wolfowitz position got its airing in George W. Bush's second inauguration when he said we're going to stamp out tyranny in all four corners of the globe, and basically, you know, we're going to be the Avengers and go out and use our military men and women to fight every war and promote democracy. And last night was not about leaning forward, so to speak, militarily. It was about, hey, we may not be able to win this thing, but we just can't lose it.
Well, that alone is a repudiation of the posture that Donald Trump struck on the campaign trail.
But it's also, I don't know that that is Paul Wolfowitz. I don't know that that's George W. Bush in 2005. That's a far more
we're not going to promote democracy. He said it's not about promoting nation building. It's about killing terrorists. And the idea in the harder neocon view of the Jeane Kirkpatrick is you make accommodations with the world as it is. You can't choose to say, I can keep my hands clean. It can be the moral decision to align yourself with compromised positions, because the goal, the aim at the end is much more important for world stability.
Isn't that more realism? I mean, that's Dr. Brzezinski telling Cy Vance in the Carter administration, no, we kill communists.
No, but that's the joke, of course, is that there's a reason that George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump have now come to fundamentally the same position on Afghanistan over 16 years, which is this is the least you can do, not the most you can do. The least you can do is you go into a country, you go in to oust its regime, you're left holding the bag. What are you going to do about it? And if your efforts to install a democratic government are unsuccessful, you can't just go away and leave, because the bad guys are going to come back. And so it turns out that this view, far from being extreme and insane and crazy and bananas, is a consensus view of people who hold the reins of power in the United States over wildly ideologically different governments.
Mark Halperin,
wildly different governments.
Yeah, and Mark Halperin, that's one of the things that if you looked at every president from Harry Truman to George H.W. Bush, you could look back, connect the dots, and there was a continuous line from 1947 and the Truman Doctrine to George H.W. Bush overseeing the collapse not only of the Soviet Empire, but also of the Soviet Union in you know, Christmas Day 1991. And it was a remarkable thing to see. And as much, John's point is, I mean, it's really something we need to stop and look at. As divided as we seem to be, I was always struck by the continuous line between George W. Bush's approach to fighting terrorists and Barack Obama's approach to fighting terrorists. And now, even though he doesn't want to hear it, Donald Trump's approach in Afghanistan to fighting terrorists, at least to stop them from getting a foothold in caves in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
First of all, I want to note that John Podhoretz said, without any irony, efforts to install a democratic government. I appreciated that. There's often an attempt to try to draw a line back to Vietnam, and clearly there's some similarities, and no president wants to lose a war. I think the biggest thing here, and the reason why you see the similarity for the three post 9/11 presidents, is there's a different element now. Vietnam was not about Americans being worried that someone would come here and kill Americans. Post 9/11, the stakes are higher. And every one of those generals, when they're briefing, whether they say it explicitly or not, make it clear. If you withdraw, if you go to a kind of a Steve Bannon-like position about what should be done, Americans could die, and that will be on your watch. And I think it's going to be a long time before any president is willing to disregard the general's recommendation if they say an implication of withdrawal is terrorists will be able to regroup and come hit us here on U.S. soil.
And Susan Page, President Trump would be loath to admit that he and President Obama share a lot in common on this policy. The last thing Barack Obama wanted to do in 2009, the last thing he wanted to do was triple the number of troops in Afghanistan. The last thing he wanted. He had to do it. It was the only responsible thing to do, despite the fact he didn't want to do it. Donald Trump found himself there last night on August the 21st, 2017, 8 years later.
You know, not only has President Trump found himself in a position of basically continuing the Obama commitment to Afghanistan, but deepening it, because he's increasing the number of troops that will be there, the number of U.S. troops. He is lifting the idea of deadlines or timetables, something for which Barack Obama was quite criticized. We have now a bigger, more robust, and more open-ended commitment in Afghanistan than we did 24 hours ago. And the other thing that is remarkable about this is there are other issues on which President Trump has changed from his campaign position to a more conventional position. But on this one, last night, he acknowledged it. He said, my instinct was to withdraw, and it was only after hearing the arguments of the generals that I agreed to change position. That is, it seems to me, unusual and makes this a policy he 100% owns now these days.
Yeah, and Barack Obama, the same. He wanted to come in. He wanted to end George W. Bush and Dick Cheney's wars. He sat behind the desk. He listened to the generals. He listened to the admirals, and he realized he couldn't just leave Afghanistan.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And one of the challenges that President Obama faced was, how do we make sure that we're not making these open-ended commitments? And one element of his strategy was to set deadlines, and that was certainly something that was criticized by a lot of his opponents. But the thinking behind that was, we need to put pressure on these governments, whether it's in Iraq or in Afghanistan, to assume responsibility for the security situation in their own country.
Right.
To basically say to these governments, we're going to support you economically, diplomatically, and yes, militarily. We're going to be there to help you train. We're going to give you the equipment that you need. But we're going to do that not because we want to take over your country, not because we want to have an open-ended deployment here,
right,
but we want to build your capacity to govern your own country, to at least provide for the security situation in your own country, so it can't be an ungoverned space that terrorists can use to launch terrorist attacks against the United States.
We've got to go to break, but let's do a quick lightning round. Yeah. Solve Afghanistan, 15 seconds. Go.
Well, I can't solve it, but I can say that you know, a year into the Obama commitment to Afghanistan, there were 100,000 Americans there. Last night, Trump said we're sending 4,000. So the rules of engagement may change, but we're talking about a scale that bears no relation to the size of the problem, very likely. And so this could just have been a vaporware speech where he's like, we're going to do something about this, but we are going to commit the least possible resources we can to this, because even though I'm saying I'm apologizing and I'm turning my mind around, I am not spending any political capital on this if I can avoid it.
Since we're quoting dead communist, Trotsky famously said something like, you may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. Americans may not want to be interested in the Middle East, right, but the Middle East has a way of being interested with us. So the minimum commitment to make sure that we do not lose in that battle space is vital, and that's why there's a kind of a consensus across three administrations that we just can't afford to walk away and pretend that it won't haunt us in Barcelona or Orlando or elsewhere.
John is right. This is probably a cosmetic commitment. It was just as cosmetic when the president ordered strikes, punitive strikes, on the Assad regime for executing a crime against humanity. This is doctrinal. It's beginning to become something that is a coherent foreign policy, even if it's not really a committed foreign policy. That's a sea change, and that's something we should watch. All
right. When we come back, the commentary coup continues, but also we'll be talking about corporate America finding a moral compass thanks to Donald Trump when we return. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.